For 56 years, one rule in the World Cup had never been broken. A straight red card meant an automatic one-match ban. No appeal, no negotiation, no exceptions. It did not matter if the player was a global superstar or a substitute nobody had heard of. That rule held for every player in every tournament until this year. In the round of 32, the United States beat Bosnia and Herzegovina 2-0. Folarin Balogun scored in the match. Then in the second half, Balogun went into a challenge with Bosnian defender Tarik Muharemovic and brought his boot down onto the defender's ankle. The referee reviewed the incident on VAR and issued a straight red card for serious foul play. Under Article 10.5 of the World Cup regulations, a sending-off triggers an automatic suspension for the team's next match. FIFA officials confirmed this immediately after the game, and there was no route to appeal. Balogun was set to miss the round of 16 match against Belgium. Before this incident, 12 players had already been sent off at this World Cup. All 12 served their bans. Then came the phone calls. According to reporting from The Guardian, Politico, and CBS, the White House began responding almost immediately after the red card was shown. Andrew Giuliani, executive director of the White House's World Cup Task Force, alerted President Trump. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick was brought into the discussions, and U.S. soccer officials also mobilized. According to The Guardian, President Trump made 3 separate calls to FIFA starting that Wednesday. On the Thursday, he phoned FIFA President Gianni Infantino directly to ask him to review the sending off. Infantino reportedly listened, made no promises, and said the disciplinary committee would look into the matter. On the Sunday, FIFA's disciplinary committee announced that Balogun's one-match ban was suspended for 1 year. He was cleared to play. President Trump then posted on Truth Social to thank FIFA for reversing what he called a great injustice. To make this decision, FIFA used Article 27 of its disciplinary code, a broad provision allowing the organization to fully or partially suspend a punishment. Balogun is now on a 1-year probation. The red card remains on his record, and if he commits a similar offense within 12 months, the suspension would be reinstated. But for the match against Belgium, he was free to play. This marked the first time since red and yellow cards were introduced to the World Cup in 1970 that a player who had been sent off was cleared to play the very next match. The only loosely comparable case in World Cup history is Brazil's Garrincha in 1962, though no automatic ban existed at that time, and that decision was also made amid allegations of political interference. When the BBC asked FIFA to explain its reasoning, the organization did not publish a report or offer an explanation. FIFA instead pointed to an earlier case involving Cristiano Ronaldo. However, that case involved a red card shown during World Cup qualifying, not during the tournament itself, and FIFA had provided a rationale in that instance. Balogun was not a marginal figure in this tournament. He entered the Belgium match as the co-host's leading scorer with 3 goals in 3 appearances and had recorded a goal contribution in every World Cup match he had played. He plays for Monaco and previously played for Arsenal. He is 25 years old. The United States, under manager Pochettino, were playing their strongest football of his tenure, chasing a World Cup quarterfinal for the first time since 2002. In a March friendly, Belgium had defeated the US 5-2. The team's form had changed significantly since then, with Balogun central to that shift. He scored in the same match in which he was sent off, bringing his tournament tally to 3 goals. Publicly, Balogun did not react with anger to the suspension. He spoke about setting an example for children watching the tournament and described the situation as surreal, while remaining calm as the controversy developed around him. Belgium's Football Federation responded with a statement describing itself as astonished. The federation cited the automatic suspension rule and referenced a circular sent to all participating nations in May, which stated that these bans could not be avoided. Belgium said it was investigating its options and stated it was defending football, not just its own team. Belgium coach Rudi Garcia commented that this World Cup's July 5th decision felt like an April Fool's joke, and said his federation was defending football itself rather than its own interests. Reaction among television pundits was strong. On the BBC, Wayne Rooney called the decision a disgrace and said Infantino should be ashamed. Micah Richards said the suspension made a mockery of the tournament. On ITV, Gary Neville summarized his reaction in 2 words: it absolutely stinks. England manager Thomas Tuchel, whose own defender Jarell Quansah was sent off against Mexico and will miss England's quarterfinal as a result, raised a pointed question about where FIFA's flexibility begins and ends. The inconsistency becomes clearer when compared with other cases from this tournament. Qatar's Ayman Medbo received a 5-match ban for a tackle that broke a Canadian midfielder's leg, even though there's an argument the injury resulted from an accidental collision. No intervention followed in that case. Separately, CNN noted that Lionel Messi appeared to avoid a red card for a similar type of challenge during Argentina's opening match, without any resulting controversy. There is a legitimate case to be made on the other side. Pochettino said that most observers in football considered the red card unfair, and neutral commentators shared that view. Playing more than 30 minutes a man down in a knockout match is itself a significant disadvantage, and there is a reasonable argument that football needs a formal appeals process for clearly accidental red cards. If FIFA had a transparent, published, and consistent review system open to all nations, and Balogun's ban had been overturned through that system, the circumstances surrounding this case would look very different. That is not what occurred here. Instead, the ruling came through a broad and rarely used clause, a closed committee that did not publish its reasoning, and a documented sequence of phone calls from the US government. FIFA's own statutes state that political interference in football is prohibited. FIFA's ethics committee had previously been asked to examine Infantino's relationship with Trump, which included Infantino awarding Trump a FIFA Peace Prize. The two are scheduled to jointly present the World Cup trophy on July 19th. Because FIFA did not publish an explanation for this specific decision, every contentious red card for the remainder of the tournament now carries an open question about whether the same flexibility would apply to other teams. Fans and analysts have noted that the underlying rule was not changed for everyone. It was applied differently in this one case. That is the core of the story. A rule with no exceptions, in place for over 5 decades, was set aside for one player, following direct involvement from the president of the tournament's host nation, through a provision that had never been applied in this way in World Cup history.